Vietnam, a place of beauty, a place of wonder, and if you're an American, well, you may not remember it so fondly, even though, fun fact, they get a lot of their money from American tourism now. So it's time that we make Vietnam the place into a superpower. We're going to form the Vietnam Empire and become the Emperor of China. Or I mess up in the video. That's kind of why it's so short, but I'll tell you all that later. Right now, let's get into the video. Let me show you how I turned Vietnam into an amazing superpower. At the start of the game, Vietnam starts out as a tiny kingdom, and not even Vietnam yet. You can play as this nation and form the De Viet Empire, which is basically like Vietnam. So, that is my goal. But to do that, we have to slowly conquer neighbor by neighbor. There's this neighbor that's Mandala. Mandala is a government where you have a bunch of tributaries instead of you directly controlling them. And since they're tributaries, I can declare war on them directly. So yeah, that's a pretty big disadvantage. By the way, if you all want me to see a Mandala playthrough, let me know down in the comments below, because that sounds like they'll be pretty fun, especially somewhere in Europe. I think that would be a great idea, but I'm getting ahead of myself. As I continue to push further and further down, conquering more of my lands, until I can form the Kingdom of Champa, which I need 2 kingdoms to form the empire. And eventually I did it, so now I can form the Empire of Nam. Alright, Vietnam's formed. Video over. I'm just kidding, obviously. My next goal is to become the Emperor of China and build up as I start playing tall in my capital. My plan is to form a hybrid culture with Han and keep it there. I then die and get a new ruler, as then I get hill dwellers, which makes development growth in my capital. The higher your development is, the faster you research weapons and new technology. So, since my capital has mountains, that's a good thing. And my government is meritocracy, which basically means people can move up their ranks by doing tests and proving their merit, instead of just pure influence. So, that's actually pretty cool. I mean, the system were kind of rigged sometimes historically, but you know, everything has its problems, and it's more fair than feudalism, I will give it that. So then I just started expanding and getting more land, simply to build up and get more power, as the other neighbor is also Mandala. So I just go in, murder the tributaries, and take them over, until I die, and my son takes over. This guy takes over as a little kid, so a lot of people want to overthrow and kill him, which happens when you're a kid. But spoiler alert, this will become one of the best rulers of all time, and I will love playing as him. Also, so far, meritocracy is my favorite government form in this game. I haven't played as a Japanese government or a Mandala government, so that might change. But so far, meritocracy, which is what the Vietnamese and Koreans have in the game, is my favorite. And I think maybe a few others have it. I then try to, well, submit to China so I can get a claim throne CB, which basically means I can rise up and start a civil war and claim the throne. That was my plan anyway, but apparently, if China doesn't do well, they go into this division period where they all separate into a bunch of countries, and that's what happened. But when that happens, you get a bunch of free declare war goals on these people. Well, basically free. It's cheap as heck. They cost prestige to declare war on people, and the prestige costs really low. And China gave me all my rightful vassals when I was part of their kingdom, so that's cool. Right now, I know I just keep expanding and building up. And then I start to build windmills, which are the best for development. Windmills are absolutely OP. They advance your society so much in this game. You need to build windmills as soon as possible. In this game, there's 2 different buildings, the military buildings and the advancement buildings. I always focus on the advancement buildings because that gives me more money, and I can just build a bigger military, more money, and size makes all the difference. Now, if you have like absolutely OP troops, they'll beat troops outnumbered 10-1, but you have to stack for so long in the game, that's just not worth it. I will do a stack thing, though. And then we got a conqueror who's Muslim, who's conquering all my Buddhist and Hindu people. So, my new goal is to unite China and conquer India, to liberate from a conqueror. A conqueror as a leader just gets a bunch of overpowered traits that lets them conquer stuff way easier. And I set it to super rare, but the only conqueror always spawns on my border in this game. I do not know why. I then set a new culture with the Chinese, a Vietnamese-Chinese hybrid culture, so they'll accept me more. And then I called in a bunch of allies to conquer giant nations. And I tried to siege the capital to, capture the leader. Didn't work, but I did capture his son and get a bunch of points towards winning the war. You don't know in this game, when you fight a war, you get points towards victory or defeat. And once you get 100 points towards victory, you win. If you get 100 points towards defeat, you lose. I then started to, build up my personal realm and get more money from that. And then I expanded even more into some other Chinese warlords so I can claim the mandate of heaven, become emperor. After that, I mess up. I'll tell you about that later. But for now, I become emperor of China. Long live China. Long live the empire. I also make war elephants, which act like tanks. Now it's time we fight the conqueror. It's time we conquer the conqueror and liberate the Buddhists and Hindus and liberate my fellow religion and my people from the Muslims who have taken our land. I also keep our name to Vietnam instead of China. Ironically, the conqueror attacks me first, but I'm able to use elephants like tanks and pick their armies off one by one and manage to defeat them. It is a long and grueling battle, though. I also white piece a bunch of rebels because I got declared war on while I was fighting rebels. Which, you know, it happens. I would like to force rebels into absolute surrender, but right now beating this conqueror is more important than that, so that would have to wait. I then get to 100%, and he's forced to pay me a buttload of money. If you declare war on someone and lose, you pay them war reparations to make up for it in the game. That incentivizes you to win instead of white piecing it. I then declared war for my rightful Chinese land. It is hard. They do come in waves after waves, but my army has been built up massively. If you're the Emperor of China, the system lets you build a huge army. Imagine if administrative government and feudal government had a baby, and that's the Chinese government. Then this is where I make my mistake. Since I'm in the expansion period, I can conquer anyone for prestige. But since they're so big, I go into infinite prestige debt to conquer them. But I think it's worth it. But I didn't know this. In China, if your country's doing well, they start to unite. But if your country's not doing well, they start to, well, go towards disillusion until your entire country collapses. And being in prestige debt counts towards that. So, yeah, spoiler alert, later on in this video, my entire empire just collapses because I didn't know about that. I then managed to create my own religion, Neo-Buddhism, so I can force people to convert, so I can spread my religion to India. Because right now, the Muslims have completely conquered and boosted India, and I'm going to have to need a religion that spreads faster to retake it. I also started demanding all my subjects, even the ones in China, convert, so I can have more religious unity. Religious unity isn't really as important, but it is to me. Basically, I'm doing it for LARP at this point. You don't have to unite all of China's religion, since a lot of Hindus and Buddhists like to live together. I then got a crusade called on me by the Pope. But I took the Pope to him and went and attacked the Vatican and just destroyed his armies, and all the armies gathered to do a naval invade of my land. The Pope tried to crusade me for the Middle East. Imagine like some random Chinese empire takes over half the world. I understand why they would call a crusade against me, but I easily beat them with elephants that I used as tanks. And after that, I build up and try to live. Try to survive. Yeah. Originally, I was going to end the video here, but then I realized it would be far too short, so then I decided to just keep it going. As then, I built up my realm a bit more, getting lots and lots of development, and my leader died and his son took over. I was hoping maybe I could fix this, but because I was in debt for so long, my disillusion was inevitable, and my empire collapsed. Vietnam, the nation I turned into a superpower, collapsed with only one ruler after it. I disgraced my people. So I reloaded and decided to form the Empire of China again, because I don't want to end on a sad note. So I formed the Empire of China again, and this time I'll know what to do if I decide to play it, because I feel like I proved myself enough. I also suck at the Chinese government form. I need to work on that better. I mean, I would have done better if I wasn't in debt right at the beginning, because I didn't know about the disillusion system. So I went to like infinite prestige debt, which kind of sucks, but hey, you know, it is what it is. So, that's where we're going to leave things off. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with all your friends. And that's the story how I turned Vietnam into a superpower. Usually my CK3 videos are a lot longer. Originally, I was going to play for a lot longer, but I just screwed up. I didn't understand the Chinese government system and how it, like, collapses if you don't do well enough. And if you do well enough, it makes you, like, unstoppable. It's kind of like a huge trade-off, like a double-edged sword. And that's why they made it like that. But if I ever play China or take the Chinese throne again, I will take it way more seriously and I'll do better. So yeah, I do plan on playing China again later, and maybe even forming the Chinese empires like Korea or Japan or something, so let me know. And eventually, I want to do a world conquest of CK3. I think that would be fun. The only reason I haven't is because the bigger it is, the more rebellions you get. But with meritocracy and these forms of government, I feel like rebellions are lessened a lot. So I could probably handle it with that. But so yeah, let me know what videos you want to see in the future. Let me know how you guys are doing down in the comments below. Love you all so much. Peace out.